and welcome to a little film that I'd like to make. It's not a show and tell, but it is about watches, and it's just some general thoughts I have about watch collecting, and also I would like to hear your opinion about watch collecting. So the question I would like to ask is, why do you collect? And I'd like to hear your reasons. You can write them underneath the video, and if you agree with my views on watch collecting, or if you have another reason for it. Now I can say that I've always been a bit of a collector. Now I've collected Greek and Roman antiquities. I've collected other things, and I now, for some time now, have collected watches. So I'll start off by saying what it is about watches that I enjoy, and I must say it is that a watch for me is, and I think this is the same for many of you, is not, it's not just a timepiece, because as you have many different kinds of timepieces. You can see it on your computer or on your tablet or iPad or on your phone. The easiest way for me to explain what watches are for me is to say that they're like small works of art, practical, useful works of art that one can wear. Like a woman may enjoy wearing a pair of fine crafted Louboutin shoes or a beautiful Chanel handbag. She also knows that although the handbag is expensive, she also knows that it's handmade with some of the best quality leather available. The stitches are exquisite, and the same it is for me in watches. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I only want high-end watches. I do have a high-end watch. I have my Omega, but I equally as much enjoy brands of watches that aren't expensive, but still well made. One of my favorites is Borealis, and also the one I know best. Borealis have been very kind to me and have sent me many of their watches, and that's why that I have lots of show and tells about Borealis watches. I'm kind of hoping that some of the other small micro brand companies will do the same in time. But so watch collecting for me is it's the craft that goes in, the workmanship that goes into making watches that fascinates me about watches. And there are also exceptions to that rule. One of my, I can't say favorite watches, but one of the watches that I wear a lot is this really, really inexpensive G-Shock. And you may ask why. Well, that's because my profession, if you can call it that, is a garbage man. I work as a garbage man, and obviously I'm not going to wear some of my watches when I work, because they would get dinged up and bashed around. So I bought this, for work, and it it's simply, well, it's a G-Shock really, and that says everything about it. It just I don't need to think about the fact that I'm wearing a watch. I can smash it around and it'll still keep on ticking. Now many of you collect different areas of watches. I know people who collect vintage Omegas and only vintage Omegas. Others collect vintage American Eldridge, pocket watches. Some people collect only divers. Some people collect only dress watches, and I think that's what particularly tickles your fancy. I mostly collect divers watches, but I do have other particulars like this vintage G-Shock. And I think that the reason that I even have this in my collection is because that I got it really inexpensively. I got it for a really good price, and that it's vintage, and that it's not. You don't see very many of them, and that sort of tickles my collector my collector mm, fancy, if you can say that. So I got it, and I haven't resold it yet, and so that's why that's in my collection. Unfortunately, I'm one of those guys who don't have a lot of money. I'm not very good with finances, and I'm always half broke. So that means that when I buy new watches, I unfortunately have to sell some of the old ones, and that sort of keeps a limitation on the size of my collection. Whereas other collectors, they have drawers and drawers, and I love seeing that on Facebook, and when they show the pictures of their collections. And but what normally happens when a person who has the economical means to have a large watch collection is that they tend to also gravitate towards one kind of watch, and then they specialize themselves. Well, they start collecting many watches, and then all of a sudden they find a specific kind of watch that tickles their interest, and they then start selling off the watches that aren't in that, and will start hunting the grail watches in their area, and that's also really cool, because that's when the specific knowledge of that area of watches starts to come to the collector. I'm nowhere in that area. I mean, I know collectors who have enormous amounts of knowledge about their specific watch area, and it's just so cool and fascinating to listen to and to talk to people like that. It really is. It's a pleasure. So I mean, so why does one collect watches? Why do I can't talk for you, but for me, because they fascinate me. Because that being a man, even though I have a bit of long hair, I am still like a man, and that means I don't wear jewelry. And for me, a watch is it's a statement about who I am, but not in the obnoxious way. As I'm just as happy to wear a Borealis watch as I am to wear a really expensive Omega. The idea that you're wearing a watch doesn't necessarily have to be. I would like to say that I think that's probably why I like microbrand watches so much. And were I to wear a mainstream Seiko, that isn't a dive or isn't a dress watch, is one of those Seikos that you never even notice people are wearing because they're such a that wouldn't express anything about my watch interest. Although the watch may be really good, it's just so when I wear an inexpensive watch, even though it's a micro brand, I'm still saying something about myself. People who look at my arm will still go, "What is that you're wearing?" And then I can go, "Oh, it's this and that," or it's a Borealis, or it's something else. It's a and still be interesting to another watch interested without having to spend $1,000 on it. And I think it's the whole idea of being able to send a signal out into the world, which will only be received by people who like watches themselves. I could sit like this and talk to a man who doesn't care one iota about watches, and he won't even notice the watch. But am I talking to a guy who himself is interested in watches in some form? He will start looking at the watch, and he may not know the brand. And then at one point, if he's watch interested, he'll go, excuse me, but what is that watch? And that's the magic word for me, because then I can go, oh well, this is and then the whole talk starts. So when unless you're wearing a Rolex, and then to some degree to Omega or Patek Philippe or all these things, unless you're wearing a really high visible, high-end brand, the watch signals you send out will only be received by other watch nuts. And that's probably, the way it should be. That's really cool. Because otherwise it would be obnoxious. And so that's pretty much why I collect watches. And the whole idea of this watch being this form of micro universe where everything just works inside. There's a whole little life of things going on in the watch that one never really sees unless one has a see-through case back, or has have opened up a watch and looked inside and seen what's going on. The knowledge that all these things are working in perfect unison to always keep the correct time, for me, it's I like it, and it's nice. Anyway, that was my thoughts. I felt like making a little bit of a general video, and then throwing the ball over to you guys and say, well, if you have specific reasons for collecting, go ahead and write it on the comments underneath, and we can have a little chat about it. Anyway, those were the words for me today. If you like listening to me, if you like my show and tells, this video is a bit atypical. I don't normally talk to the camera. I normally sit behind it with my white gloves. But if you like the way I do my show and tells, then please like and subscribe. And also join my Facebook group. I have a Facebook group called Peter's Watch Show and Tell group. And if you join there, you can contact me via that. Anyway, I'd like to say thanks very much for watching, and catch you again next time. Bye-bye.